don't see it on here, but I see we're on there, so we must be live, huh? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Fridley City Council. If you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as usual, a reminder that we all have cell phones. If you just turn them off or on vibrate so they don't disrupt the proceedings, we'll get going. Our first item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the proposed consent agenda, and as usual, our city manager will give us that overview.
And the only unusual thing about the consent agenda today is its length. It's very short. The first item is a city council meeting minutes for January 28th. And we have claims with P-card, and that is your consent agenda, Your Honor.
It'll be a short meeting tonight, huh? Okay, are there any of those two items that the council wishes to remove for further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to remove either one of the, or both of the proposed consent agenda items for further discussion?
If nothing further, I would move approval of the proposed consent agenda as presented.
And I'll second the motion.
If there's no discussion, I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed, the motion carries. Our next item is open forum. Persons in the audience that wish to address the council that is not on tonight's agenda. And I see we have our illustrious John Connolly present, and he's going to talk to us about the chamber.
Well, not so illustrious. I apologize for not wearing the tie, but if you see the tie, took one in the parking lot this afternoon. And casualty of our winter.
Uh-oh.
I think that's going to the dry cleaner. So with that, thank you so much for carving out some time to have me update you on chamber activities and what's going on with our organization and the business community. And I want to also reaffirm that this handout that I put forth here, that vision that stays the same. It's a resource for both business developers and communities. And on the backside, we also have, I always try to simplify, and we always just do something very simple that lists the things that we do, the ways we engage, and some of the networking we do, and community partnerships, as well as the resource for business to connect with each other, so that creates the commerce in our local community. Also, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is there are several things that are not on that sheet, and a lot of things we do on the sidelines include some of the business councils we do, some of the outreach we do with ribbon cuttings. So, for instance, tomorrow morning we will be doing a ribbon cutting at the new sports club up the road here, and this is just one of many that we do in the community. And another thing too we do is certificates of origin. We have a lot of exporters in Fridley. Any global, cash register, also Anglo-K right over here. They do a lot of exporting, and we use certificates of origin, which identifies them as originating here in Fridley. So, just one of those small services that we do for the business community. Another thing that we're proud of is some of the events we do that engage the business community. And one of those events we do around the holiday, that is thank you. Oh, I won't. Now I can tone it down a little bit more. I thought this was on. Sorry. And one of the things we're really proud of is we do an annual holiday social that benefits the local food shelf, SEICA. And SEICA, Southern Oka County Food Assistance, we raise funds through a business event, and then those are shared between SEICA and Ralph Reeder food shelves for the local area. So I just want to make sure that you're aware that we do some of these events, but then some of them are cause-related too as well. In addition, we always try to promote the business community to find solutions locally, whether it be in Fridley, Columbia Heights, in this nearby area. We think that makes great business sense, so a supplier, a business match, somehow, some way, there's a solution here between all these businesses in here to keep the commerce local. One of the examples of that is we really try to form a strong partnership with the business councils. And in addition to that, some of the partnerships we have with like the tourism group Twin City Gateway, and also some of the regional things that Anoka County does on an economic development front. So connecting with their economic folks to spread the word about business and spread how this is an inviting community for business. One of the things I wanted to bring up to you is some new initiatives that we're doing. One is a Small Business Federation membership, which is offered to businesses that are 10 and less employees. The significance of that is that through their membership in our organization, they become part of a buying group, and they're able to purchase supplies, they're able to purchase insurance, et cetera, through this coalition of buying groups and get a better price. So for a small business, it's really going to be helpful for them to be part of this federation, and they can tap into some of those cost savings. Another thing, too, I wanted to share was there's a little transportation project that's going to go on nearby, and it's called 35W MinPass construction for 3 years. And one of the things that our Chamber of Commerce is doing, and we've had conversations with MnDOT about this, is the public engagement and the business engagement communication toolkit that is going to be provided by MnDOT to help businesses adapt and during this 3-year construction period, because during that period, there's going to be a lot of diversion, and Central and University will see some additional traffic. And I know you've got some things going on locally here about that, but one of the things we're trying to do is communicate this toolkit, share it with businesses so that they can share it with their staff, their vendors, as well as their guests. And that way, people can manage their time. So if something's on a schedule, they know they have to leave 10 minutes early for an appointment to be here. And even though it might take a little longer to get here, it's a toolkit that hopefully will provide a navigation system for them to get around this area much easier. And that's what we want. We want people to not get, oh, that exit's lost, or that exit's closed, or we want to try to make sure that businesses have that ability to share the up-to-date real-time communication with their guests and their employees and their vendors, so that we can, through this 3-year process, manage a lot of things and make it more and more convenient so that those dollars stay in our community. That's about it. I just wanted to share a quick update. You have my information. If you ever have any questions, certainly you can reach out to me, and you'll just see us out and about in the community doing what we do. Talking to businesses, inviting people to come spend money in our community, and investing in our community. So with that, I'll just take any questions that the council, the staff, or mayor that you might have.
John, I haven't seen the emails of late. Are we no longer having a quarterly business council here for this area?
Good question. We're reviving that.
Okay.
Now that, in fact, we're going to make this the home, now that we have a consistent location. We lost our location because the Fridley Medical Building was sold.
Right.
And we lost that location, and now we're going to have a more consistent location. So we're going to revive that this second quarter, and so yes, that
Okay.
will be, that is on our agenda to do. Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe I was gonna get scolded for not attending lately, but
No,
I wait
no.
for the emails that tell me.
No,
what
no,
it is.
no, we, no, I thank you for asking, because that will be resurrected. We're just waiting for the permanent location, because then people can permanently know where it's gonna be and the time, as well as the date.
Good, makes sense. Great. Well, we certainly thank you for coming out and sharing your comments with us
Well,
and the
yeah.
viewing audience. And
Yeah, and-
look forward to reviving the business council, and hopefully we can rally you have a lot of businesses here.
Well,
They
and
need to
that,
participate.
and that's exactly it. Our job is to communicate as much as possible that there are a lot of local solutions, and there's a lot of opportunities to do businesses with each other in this community. And that, we want to invite as many people to come here and spend dollars in this community too as well. So, to provide you jobs and quality of life.
Mayor,
Thanks again.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
John, you mentioned the 35, name of a project for 35, and you talked about the diversion of traffic
Yeah.
coming our way. What was the name of that project again?
They are on 35 from essentially Lino Lakes down to County Road C in Roseville, Highway 36. There's going to be construction of a min-pass lane, similar to what was done in the South Metro. And it will run north-south along 35. So there'll be lane closures, so going from 3 lanes to 2 lanes, diverting traffic and so forth. So it's going to be a 3-year project to rebuild that whole min-pass. And because of that, we think there's an opportunity to communicate with the business community on our end. The public engagement's different, that'll be MnDOT's responsibility, but for us, the business community, we want to really make sure that they have a toolkit that they can send to their guests. It would be a website link that'll tell them, hey, this is your location, this is where you're coming from, this is how long it's estimated to take you. Think about it as a Waze app almost, and it'll tell them the best way to get to that location. We want to try to do that so that we break down barriers and make it as inviting as possible to continue to do business in this area.
Has that project started? I'm not familiar with it, so.
Yeah, they're just queuing up now, some of their equipment, and it's estimated, depending upon the weather, they're looking at sometime in April doing some of the, diversion work, and then it'll be a long time.
3 years is.
3 years. That's what they're telling. That's what Ames Construction, which is the company that's doing the project, that's what they're telling MnDOT. And one of the things that we really, like I said, want to do is be on the forefront, be proactive on this so that we can share with businesses a lot of these tools so that they can manage their business and they can get familiar with how it works so that then their guests are familiar too as well. Sure. Imagine a hotel or someone like that who loses access to a ramp or something. They're going to want to make sure that their guests know, hey, this is the best way to get to us now.
It's been
Thank
a
you.
long time in coming. I can remember 15-plus years ago, they were talking about this, so,
Yeah,
from idea to concept to funding takes 20 years.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, it's an amazing project, and when it's done, everyone's going to be, whoa, this is wonderful. But it's a long project, and
We'll see. Most time I see that these projects, by the time they get that 20-plus years down the road, by the time it's built, it's almost obsolete, so.
Well,
We'll see.
that's
It's gonna be better than what it's been.
indeed. So,
Great. Any other questions? Thanks again, John.
thanks again for the
coming out.
opportunity to share an
Yeah.
update.
So the next item on tonight's agenda is a motion to approve the agenda for tonight.
So moved.
And I'll second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries, which leads us to new business, item number 3. Resolution receiving report and calling for improvements to the 2019 street rehabilitation project.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm Brandon Brodhaig. I'm with the Civil Engineering Department. I'm here to talk about the 2019 Street Rehabilitation Project, ST 2019-01, receiving feasibility report and calling for a public hearing. Background on the project: each year the City of Fridley performs major rehabilitation of selected streets in a planned neighborhood according to its pavement management plan. On October 8th, 2018, the City Council authorized initiation of this project. Here's a map showing the 10-year plan of the street resurfacing plan. As you can see with the red box, we're looking at the area right near the Civic Campus here, down on 69th, the service road out front, and 71st Avenue. An open house for the project was held on January 22nd, and preliminary information was presented to property owners and residents affected by the construction. 47 notices were mailed of the open house. 12 persons attended, and feedback was gathered and incorporated into the feasibility report presented to the City Council this evening. Some notes from the open house. The project was well received generally, and there were some valuable suggestions on project details and construction methods that will provide for a better project and reduce construction impact. A questionnaire was also available at the open house to all attendees for staff to receive valuable information from affected properties. Staff has developed a feasibility report that evaluated streets in the area and considered conditions, utility improvements, and other typical elements that may be incorporated into the project. So here's a map with the candidate streets. Like I said earlier, 69th Avenue, from University Avenue East Service Road to the eastern termini. University Ave East Service Road, Trunk Highway 47 to 73rd. And then on 71st Avenue, from the Service Road to Lock Parkway, which will be completed next summer. Some of the work elements for the project, we'll do removal of the pavement, whether it be reclaim or milling. We will make sidewalk connections to our existing network that we have in the area. There will be water main and hydrant replacements. Storm sewer and drainage work, which will include a pond expansion. There'll be closure of access from 69th Avenue to University Avenue East Service Road with that pond expansion. There'll be curb replacement and repaving of streets, and there'll be restoration as well. So a tentative early schedule for this project. We plan on opening bids and award in May of this year. We'll do advanced utility work this summer in June and July of this year. Construction, final hearing, notice of assessment, and assessments begin. We're looking at either that being in 2019 or that could possibly get pushed back to next season of 2020. That construction would be pushed back just because of the Pulte development and other construction going on in the area. The feasibility report outlined the project, budget, and schedule, and provides some detail on the extent of construction. The feasibility report concluded that the project is cost-effective, necessary, and feasible. Looking at a draft project budget, the estimated project cost is coming in at $762,000. $361,905 of that would be the City of Fridley MSA account. $73,095 would be through assessment to the adjacent properties on the project. $138,000 would come from the water utility fund. $98,000 from the stormwater utility fund. Most of that would be for the pond expansion. $16,000 from the sanitary sewer fund. And then we would put in $75,000 from the trail walk upgrades. In the packet for the resolution, there's a correction on page 40, the number 2 item. The 11th day of March should be placed in instead of the February 25th. That is because we need enough time to publish the advertisement for the hearing. Staff requests that the City Council move to approve the attached resolution receiving the feasibility report for the 2019 street rehabilitation project, number ST 2019-01, and calling for a public hearing on the proposed improvements on March 11th, 2019.
Thank you, Brandon. So does the council have any questions regarding this issue? You mentioned about 19/20 because, and that's of course my concern. So you recognize that because of how things may or may not go as far as Lock Point Boulevard and those things need to be built first, I assume, and that's why you're talking about doing this project in later summer, August through October. I take that as So it's hopeful that the rest of the streets will be done before then? And I see a lot of shaking heads, so I'm gonna take that as an affirmative.
Mayor, yes, that is the reason why we'd be pushing the project back, or we'd be starting it in late August, is because we'd want to get Lock Parkway done first, and let Pulte get as much of their development done as possible, so that we're not conflicting with our contractors.
Right, and to me, it's like, let's not build a road and then have it busted up because of contractors using it, so. So I guess you'll play that kind of by ear, and if it gets too late and things aren't going as smoothly as what we expect, then they hardly ever do, so it may get delayed, so. I'm comfortable with that, with the knowledge that it's already understood and in, early on that it may get delayed. Otherwise, I was gonna suggest that, are we really sure that we wanna do this next year, or should it wait until the next summer? So, it's okay with me, it's gotta get done. So, that was my biggest concern here.
Mr.
before
Mayor, can I
tonight.
I'll just add that, yeah, we'll play it by ear to a certain extent. I think that we want to go through with the hearing process and, schedule that and have those things out of the way, have our plans ready for bid, and then make a decision sometime later this spring on, the projection of where we'll be with the best information available. So, and yes, we don't want to conflict with the other construction as well, as far as access and so on and so forth. We need some of that construction to be out of the way before we start on this project.
And the way Pulte's been moving right along, even in this cold weather, I see today they were digging a hole for another one, and I haven't heard as of late, but I suspect that the majority of those lots have probably already been spoken for, taken, because a month and a half or more ago, I heard that they'd sold at least half of those lots, so I fully expect that they'll have those all sold by early spring. So, any other questions from council? Hearing none,
If none,
motion.
I will move the resolution with the change found on page 40, changing the date from the 25th of February to the 11th of March. I would move the resolution receiving the report and calling for the hearing improvement for the 2019 street rehabilitation project, number 2019-01.
I would second that.
We have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, item number 4, a resolution adopting ADA transition plan for public rights of way.
All right, the Americans with Disabilities Act Transition Plan. What is ADA? The Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, enacted on July 26, 1990, is a civil rights law prohibiting discrimination against individuals on the basis of disability. Just some history with ADA. ADA regulations and guidance are frequently updated. Several significant milestones include, in 1968, the Architectural Barriers Act. In 1973, the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. In 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act. In 1998, the ADA Accessibility Guidelines were published. And then 2010, ADA Standards for Accessible Design. And then in 2011, the proposed guidelines for pedestrian facilities in the public right-of-way, ProWay, was created. And that is what we currently are designing to this day. So plan development, what is the ADA transition plan and why do we need it? As a public entity that employs 50 or more persons, City of Fridley must comply with this section of the act as it specifically applies to public service agencies. City of Fridley has conducted a self-evaluation of its facilities throughout the city and has developed this transition plan detailing how the organization will ensure that all of those facilities are accessible to all individuals. Plan management, living document. The City of Fridley's transition plan is a living document that will receive routine updates. The first update is scheduled to occur 1 year from the plan's formal adoption and on a 4-year cycle thereafter. To streamline plan updates and keep the document current and relevant, appendices will be updated annually if new information is available and does not alter the intent of the transition plan. Agency requirements. General requirements require the City of Fridley that programs, policies, practices, and procedures are accessible to and usable by individuals with disabilities. So some of the plan goals: it strives to meet accessibility needs of all users. It identifies priorities to maintain, program, and construct accessible pedestrian facilities. It identifies ADA coordinator, and it provides method for recommending changes. So there's different phases of the plan. Currently, we're working on the public rights-of-way plan. There's also going to be a parks and buildings, which will be coming later. We have the same goal for our parks, as we'd like them to be ADA compliant. Buildings, we have this brand-new facility. That's one of the main reasons that we moved from the old City Hall. And then our website, which is currently fully compliant. Self-evaluation: how accessible is the City of Fridley? Survey inventory was completed in 2017 for public rights-of-way pedestrian ramps. City of Fridley is currently 13.6% fully compliant to the modern standard. Neighboring cities, from what I saw, were 10% to 15% existing. So we're right in that range as well. What makes a pedestrian ramp compliant? There's the slopes of the ramps, the landings, the gutter line, the road coming into the ramps, the dimensions, the truncated domes, which is also called the detectable warning surface, if they have cracks, or if there are obstructions within the pedestrian ramps. So here's just kind of a breakdown from what we surveyed in 2017. All the ramps that were surveyed, there was a rank from being completely compliant. Some had just one minor defect, all the way to having 6 defects. We did have one of those in the city. Some of them just have minor slope issues or other minor issues, and some had need a little bit more work to become fully compliant. So here's a picture of the worst rated pedestrian ramp in the city. As you can see, there's no detectable warning. The dimensions aren't completely compliant. The landing, the slopes, and there's obstruction with the stop sign and the manhole sticking up. So this is the worst rated one. Here's a pedestrian ramp with just one minor defect. From the looks of it, it looks like a ramp that would be compliant, but it did have a minor slope. It was just over the threshold that caused it to not be fully compliant. Here's a picture of a fully compliant pedestrian ramp. This is the goal of what we are hoping to have all of our ramps look like, with the detectable warning, all the slopes coming in nicely, the landing and with the dimensions being what we need, and the gutter slope not creating a drainage issue. So city policies, we do have a temporary pedestrian access route during construction. Anytime that there's a city project or there's a contractor coming in or a utility project, if they are in any way causing the pedestrian access route to be temporary removed, we enforce it that they have to come up with either a bypass plan or a detour plan. In our capital improvement program, anytime we're near a spot that we can make something fully compliant, we will. And then with winter maintenance, it's part of our policy to snowplow both sidewalks and trails. Generally, with our policy, we have streets and sidewalks going first, and then with paths and trails coming at a later time. Here's a winter maintenance map. It just shows that this ADA transition plan isn't gonna be anything different than we are already currently doing, because we are already doing the sidewalks, trails, and paths. Implementation, the methodology, like I said earlier, the scheduled street and utility improvement projects. Anytime we're in an area where we can fix something, we will. We also, if it gets to a point where we feel we're not getting to enough of these ramps, we can do standalone sidewalk and ADA accessibility improvement project in priority locations. Some of those priority areas may possibly be near the schools, hospitals, or if we receive public input, et cetera, of areas that we need to focus in on. Funding, estimated cost to become fully compliant is $1,677,500, which will be about $75,000 per year for over 20 years. So some of the external agency coordination with having jurisdiction with MnDOT and Anoka County in the city of Fridley. They also went through the same process of creating an ADA transition plan. As you can see, MnDOT adopted theirs in 2010, with Anoka County adopting theirs in 2018. We currently are using the MnDOT standards, which were fully developed in 2013 when we were doing our design process. Implementation, the schedule. Existing conditions, our current baseline is 13.6% fully compliant with the modern standard. After 5 years, we're hoping that the city is 25% ADA compliant. After 10 years, we're hoping to 50% ADA compliant. Then after 20 years, 90% ADA compliant. So public input, we did post the draft plan on the city's webpage and the city's Polko survey website. It was open for comments from December 26th to February 1st. We did receive one comment on the plan. Public outreach, we had a public meeting on January 16th to discuss the ADA transition plan. We did not have any attendees at the public meeting. We're bringing this to the city council meeting tonight. There is a webpage just for the ADA transition plan under engineering on the City of Fridley website. The plan was posted on all of the City of Fridley links for social media, and there's a hard copy of the plan at City Hall. Here's just a picture of the website that we created for the Public Works ADA transition plan under the City of Fridley website. So if you need any more information, this is a spot that you can go to. A grievance form was created for the ADA transition plan. It's a place that somebody can report a concern. It is on the city webpage. You can fill it out right on the website, and it'll be sent to the ADA Title II coordinator. And then there's also hard copies at the City of Fridley if you need to report a concern as well. Contact information, who should I talk to about the City of Fridley accessibility? The City of Fridley ADA Title II coordinator is myself. You may contact me through email, or you can call me, or you can stop in if you need to discuss more about the transition plan, or if you would like to talk about accessibility throughout the city. City Council staff requests that the City Council move to approve the attached resolution adopting ADA transition plan for public rights of way.
Thank you again, Mr. Broadheg. Questions from council?
Mayor, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned that 13.6% of our ramps are fully compliant, and that fits in with what you find at other cities, 10 to 15% compliant. And we've been working on these ramps for quite a few years, if I recall. So have the specifications increased? and changed over this period of time to make some of the work we've done in other cities too non-compliant? Is that a big part of this issue?
Councilmember Eggert, yes, that is correct. That's the ADA Transit Disabilities Act was enacted in 1990. Why are we only 13.6% today? Well, that is a big reason, is that the standards kept changing. It's since 1990, the city of Fridley has been working to be fully compliant. But the thing is that the standards have changed and constantly change, and now they feel like since 2011, it has settled down a little bit more, and we should be able to, as long as they keep the modern standard, keep working towards compliant.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Eggert, I'll just add to that. If you recall, there were ramps put in the early days with washed aggregate, rather than an iron, detectable warning surface. So that was the standard back in those days, and there wasn't much attention paid to the effectiveness of that detectable warning surface. And so, yeah, so there's been a migration over time. And, I think we've, since the 2013 modern standards are designed, I think we're meeting all those with what we've put in, but, you go around the city and you can only construct so much in any one year. I would also like to point out, because Councilmember Volkom's not here, she was in attendance at the January 16th meeting. She was the only person from the public in attendance, so just wanted to make sure that was on the record.
I know years ago it was explained to me that this ADA was in place and it was to my benefit as someone getting older out there, as well as for more people with disabilities to navigate around. And at first, you don't really, you're young and you don't really necessarily appreciate it, but as you age, you appreciate these transitions.
Councilmember Eggert, I can tell you that having children at one point in my life, I appreciated having the ramps just for pushing the stroller. So I recognized how non-compliant my community was at that point when I was pushing that stroller around on occasion. But I can tell you that the standards are, were developed mainly for buildings and so forth, and sites and, public rights of way were kind of a second fiddle as far as development of guidance and so on and so forth. So that's why we ended up, with such a long time lag here.
Thank you.
I echo those comments that you made, Councilmember Eggert, about 20 years, we hope to be 90% compliant. Of course, the rules will change by then in the next 20 years. So we'll never be fully compliant in my estimation. And not to diminish the importance of this, because, I think getting around, mobility is an important issue. I think if people had attended that, if we were having that open house today, rather than a few weeks ago when there wasn't any snow, and with all the snow, I think the more immediate concern is this accessibility and usability of the sidewalks, whether we've got ADA compliant ramps or not, because with all the snow, it's a huge challenge and not one that I can say, well, the city's remiss in not doing the job, because I still see people walking out in the street rather than using the sidewalk because they're just not as clear. And so you don't even notice times like now that there is the cast iron plate there for it's covered with ice and snow. So, and I don't know what the answer is to that. If money wasn't an object, yeah, you could probably have heated sidewalks or something that keeps them clear. So that's more of an accessibility issue in our type of climate, times like this. So just a comment, really not a question there, because I know the answer isn't clear cut and it's an expensive one. So.
Well, just another comment. People probably didn't notice that with big box retail, whether it be Walmart or Sam's or Target, today you'll notice there is no curb at the front door. You walk right in, and they did that quite a few years ago for that various convenience.
Sure.
Getting people there, and to get this out into the city is very important for our aging community.
Exactly.
Just a comment.
Okay, if there's no other comments, a motion would be in order.
I move to approve the resolution adopting ADA transition plan for public rights of way.
I see it's found on page 59, so, just for reference.
I'll second.
And there is a second. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And those opposed, the motion carries. Which leads us to informal status reports. Does the council or staff have anything to report to the viewing, listening audience? The one should be the comment about this corridor study that kind of segues in what John Connolly was mentioning earlier, only in another part of the northern suburb. So, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You're absolutely right. Folks should watch their mailbox for their invite, but be able to answer the question, how would you improve University Avenue and Highway 65? We really want input from citizens on this very important question, and we have set up a series of workshops for folks to be involved with. The first of those workshops is on Thursday, February 21st, from 6 o'clock until 8:30. We have, or I'm sorry, 6 o'clock till 8 o'clock here at City Hall. If you haven't seen the new facility, this is certainly an opportunity for you to do that and to be part of this important program and this process. If you have children, as we have done in the past, it's very important to get your input, and we would even have care for those young children if you want to bring your children, and we'll have a facility set up for them to play in and be safe while you give us your input. So that, again, is the first meeting is February 21st from 6 to 8. Second meeting is March 7th. Third meeting is March 21st. And the final meeting is the first week of April. And that is, let me get my invite out here, is April 4th from 6 to 8. So we'd love to have you. This is kind of a progressive process, one where you would hopefully come to that first meeting and stay part of the process through each of the series of 4 nights. If you can't, though, we'll take your presence at any one of those 4 meetings. So be glad to have you. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to let citizens know about this.
And I'd like to just add on to that, Mr. Hickok, that really encourage people to take this to heart. This is one of these opportunities that, yes, your voice can make a difference. We need the input, and so don't wait until years later when some of this gets implemented and saying, why didn't I know about this? So now is your opportunity. I'd like to see a lot of people here at these 4 workshops, and they're Thursdays, so you get used to it on every other Thursday for the next 2 months. There's going to be these workshops, so I encourage everyone to make an effort to come to City Hall.
If I could add a comment, MnDOT has reached out to us and asked for citizen input. We need to show up and speak up.
Well, and I think also that the well-run workshops, it'll be concise and within the time frame. So you're gonna spend 2 hours, and the 2 hours is well worth it. And it also helps us in our decisions that we get to make later.
Great. Any other comments? Something going on in
Mr.
our
Mayor,
community?
can I mention on that corridor, I think there's a
Yep.
card that's getting mailed out as well, but if folks don't receive the card or you don't want to wait for it, go to the city's website, you can find that very flyer up on our project page. All you have to do is look for Highway 47, University Avenue, 65 corridor study, not in that any order, just search for that, and it's on the Public Works project page. Or they can call 572-3554, and we'll get them pointed in the right direction.
Great, thank you. Very important. Hope that we can get a large group of people there to engaged in this endeavor. So, any other comments for the public?
You know, at our last meeting, I mentioned that we had quite a few activities, and I know you're involved in one, Mayor. But this week, the Fridley Community Theater is going several days, presenting Fools at the Fridley Community Center. And also on, and that's throughout the week, I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday maybe.
Yep, I think they have matinee.
And they certainly need our support with our theater. Also, I saw the Fridley Fire Badge Ceremony and Awards is Sunday night, honoring our firefighters. I think it's right here in City Hall at the Fireside Room, 5 to 6 o'clock. And you're in the Lions?
I am. Lions are having their annual wine tasting at Banquets of Minnesota on February 22nd from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. $25 a person in advance, $35 at the door, so you'll want to get them in advance. You can talk to any Lion member or contact myself, and I'll get you some tickets. That includes a food tasting as well with 10 area restaurants that will be providing food. And as well, there will be beer vendors there, so it's wine, beer, and food. The price is very reasonable at $25, and they have 300 tickets printed, and I know that last year they sold 270. I expect them to sell out this year, so don't wait until February 21st. In addition, there's two other ones coming up. March 1st is, I get the two confused here. Let's see, March 1st is the chili contest for the Lee Carlson Center. So if anybody's interested in that, it's a chili and beer tasting put on by Lee Carlson Center, who deals with mental health issues in Anoka County, and they have actually expanded into Hennepin County. So in light of that, they are now going to host it at the Embassy Suites right off of 694 and Highway 100 in Brooklyn Center. That's March 1st from 5 to 8 o'clock. So you can contact me or go to the Lee Carlson website. They have tickets online. And March 2nd, I gotta look up what that one is. Isn't that the Spring Spree? The Spring Spree will be March 2nd. That'll be held at the Springbrook Nature Center, and the foundation, the Springbrook Foundation puts that on. The funding goes for scholarships and programming at the Springbrook Nature Center. So those tickets are $45. I think it's $45. That's from 5:30 on in the evening. So if you're interested in attending that, it's an actual dinner, silent auction, there'll be some entertainment, and it's for a good cause. So lots of places to go to, folks, so come out and enjoy.
We only have 3 more weeks of winter, right? Doesn't spring start?
If there's no other comments, there's nothing further, I'll second. Motion and second, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Thank you for attending or watching the City Council, City